Oh my goodness, did you ever have a day? Huh, huh. I love stories that start like that. Did you ever have a day when everything that, no, I've never had one of those days. Hey, welcome to Streamin Idiots. I'm Tom Sinclair, your host for today, and we are going to have what's the best way to describe this show? Interesting, unusual, unprofessional. They're saying in the chat room, if this is Streamin Idiots, I'll fit right in. Yeah, and this show is aptly named because I am an idiot. There is no doubt about that. I have been, for those of you watching live, welcome. Glad you're here. For those of you watching on YouTube, you may as well skip this video. It's going to be terrible. But do subscribe because the future ones will be better. I was trying to record a demo this morning of the audio-controlled switcher for vMix. And, you know, as anything, when, you know, you get multiple takes. And so I'm on like take number 5, and I'm thinking, you know, maybe I ought to just take a look and see, because I would fumble with a word or show the wrong view or something stupid like that. And so I said, well, maybe I'll just take a look. And I looked at it, and it looked great, but there was no audio. I thought, this is unusual. I was watching the little audio bar in the recording software. I'm using Camtasia, the screen recorder portion of Camtasia. And I wasn't getting any audio. So I played around with it for a while. Suddenly I was getting audio again. Suddenly. Suddenly is not a good word to use in troubleshooting, is it? If you don't know what you did to fix it, maybe you didn't fix it. So anyway, okay, so I'm recording some more and struggling, and I'd get 10 minutes through, and then I'd have a major fumble. And I'd have another take. And then I guess it got to be about 45 minutes before showtime. I like to start the pre-show about 30 minutes early. So I think, okay, I got 15 minutes, and I got a beautiful take. It was great. I was so proud of myself, and I said, let's listen. No audio. Oh, crap. Where's the audio? What's going on? And so, anyway, suffice to say, I reworked the audio here. And I said, okay, well, what I'll do is I'll make sure that I've got a microphone that works. And so I pull the mic from one interface to another interface. Long story that makes no sense, does it? Suffice to say, gee whiz. I may have to do this demonstration live. I guess live is the deal. You know, my deal has always been live. Come watch the show live. It's produced live. We record it. We post it to YouTube. But it's a live show, and so with a live show comes all the foibles and the follies and the trip ups that you would get in live. Now these shows are not edited. I mean I don't go back later and try to cut out my mistakes. I'm thinking this is an educational program, and you can learn maybe more from my mistakes than you can from whatever it is I'm trying to communicate. So anyway, suffice that to say that we are going to attempt to demonstrate this video-controlled switcher software live because I was not able to make a recorded demo of it. But before we get into all that trouble, I do want to tell you a couple of pieces of news that I think are going to be interesting, and then we'll come back to the audio-controlled switcher. Number one is PTZ Optics has now come out with their second-gen cameras, Gen 2. What's the difference between Gen 1 and Gen 2? I'm still waiting to hear, but I think there's some firmware differences that are going to be some cool features. So if you're thinking about a PTZ camera, I may have one order from somebody today. Let's wait and see if there's a big difference between Gen 1 and Gen 2, or if Gen 2 may just be a firmware upgrade. We'll see. So sit tight with me a little bit, and I'll be posting that on my Twitter account and my Facebook page for Eastern Shore Broadcasting. If you're not following us on Twitter, click the little Twitter thing. I think it's on our website somewhere. Oh, somebody says higher frames per second recording and H265 over 264 compression. Thank you, Kevin. Kevin, I said in pre-show, was one of the bad guys, so we've now shifted him to the good guys list with that. Thank you, Kevin. The other news, and it is probably not news to you guys, but heck, it was news to me. So I figured if it's news to me, it might be news to somebody else out there. Anyway, Blackmagic has come out with the Blackmagic Decklink Quad 2. Now, you remember the Decklink Quad 1? Well, the Decklink Quad was a really cool capture card, still is, that has 4 HD SDI inputs and 4 HD SDI outputs. And so that's that was pretty cool. And if you used 3 of them for inputs, then you could use 1 of them for outputs. And that was pretty cool. And I think even if it was an input, you could mirror it on the output. In fact, that's the way we set up the Racetrap PC because we used a pair of those in each. Anyway, they're coming out with the Decklink Quad 2, which almost looks exactly like the other one. It's still got the 9 mini HD SDI connectors. One of them was for control. But now, instead of having 4 and 4, and actually I guess they were interspaced, in 1 input, 1 output, 2 input, 2 output. Now they're going to have 8 inputs HD SDI that can be used as outputs if they're not being used as inputs for the same price. So Blackmagic is getting down and dirty. I think it's like $9.85, something like that. 8 HD SDI inputs. Gonna be pretty cool. I say gonna be because it's vaporware. It's not here yet. It will be released supposedly in the fall. They're saying Q4, Q4 of 2016 for the Blackmagic Decklink Quad 2. So if you're interested in that, if you're doing long-term planning for a capture card and you can wait till the fall, that might be worth a look. If you need something now, then look elsewhere. And of course, we've got the Magwell line of cards. And by the way, I've been mispronouncing that Magewell for years mistakenly. So apparently I was correct. No, I definitely was corrected. It's Magwell. So that's the 2 pieces of news. The third piece of news, somebody has posted in the chat here a link to the press release. Thank you, Tommy, from Blackmagic about the card. The other piece of news, and I guess it's news. In April, I'm going to be attending the NAB show in Las Vegas. I'm really excited about that. I'll be up there on a Tuesday and a Wednesday. And on that Wednesday, which would be regularly our show day, the folks at vMix, Martin Sinclair, who, might be kin to me, Sinclair, Martin Sinclair has invited me to come have our show, this Streaming Idiots show, on his stage at the vMix booth at NAB. So we'll be there live on Wednesday, April the whatever it is, in order to produce and show that show. Hopefully it'll be better than this one. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So anyway, that's going to be fun, and I hope you guys will tune in and watch. And one of the reasons why I mentioned this in advance is if you're planning on being at NAB, I'd love to have you come out and be in the live audience for the show. I mean, we've got a great live audience here, which I'm really always amazed at, frankly. But hey, Justin, I see Justin's in the audience today, but this will be a live audience. I mean, so that means you guys could throw things. Ooh, maybe we need to get behind a plexiglass screen or something. Anyway, so that'll be whatever the April 20th or 21st, something like. I'll make sure you have plenty of notice if you're planning on going to NAB. I'm sure it'll be majorly featured on all the bulletin boards. Yeah, right. So that's the news. Enough of that. Let's see if we can't make this demo thing work. We're going to demonstrate demonstrate the audio controlled switcher for vMix. Short history on it. It's a piece of software that was put together by a couple of brothers in Norway. They tried not very successfully to market it to the world. And a friend of mine, in fact, it was Justin who's watching today, said, "Hey, Tom, there's this cool software. Can you help me figure out how to work it? Because I might want to use it." And so I took a look at it and said, "This is a gem that's being hidden in the wilderness." And so I negotiated with those guys to become a reseller for them. And so we're reselling their software. And we found out as we went through the process that the software really only worked with audio from things like webcams. The idea, I'm sorry, I started right in the middle of it. The idea of this software is that if you were in a talk show situation or maybe a civic council or something like that, where you've got multiple speakers that might all want to be speaking at the same time, or you're doing a news show like CNN or Fox News. The idea is that instead of having to have a director that would switch cameras one by one, the software would listen to whichever mic was active, and based on the active microphone, it would switch a camera to the mic that was paired up with that camera. And so I've got 3 separate microphones in addition to this regular mic, my AT897 shotgun from Audio-Technica that I'm using. You can see just the tip of it right there. I didn't do my screenshot very well today. So, and I'm talking so fast because I feel like I need to get all this information in a quick period of time before we have to go to a commercial break. But we don't do commercials. Okay, anyway. So I've got 3 mics here in the studio. I've got a Sony. It is a Sony ECM NV1. This is a shotgun mic that I stole off an old Sony standard definition camera. So we'll use it, and it plugs in XLR. I've got the good old standby Audio-Technica ATR 2100, which is a cool little mic. It'll do XLR, it'll do USB. Today we're using it on XLR because that's the way most of the professionals do. And then I've got a Natty SP5 Star Power 5. This is a mic I used to use when I was doing a lot of soccer. We would just put it on a cord and drop it out the window of the press box to pick up the ambient noise. It did a great job. So we'll use this for our demo today. We've also got 3 cameras that we're going to use. We've got this shot, which is the over-the-shoulder shot. It's a Canon, it's a Logitech C920. We've got this shot that is that's that one right there, Logitech C920. And then we've got this shot, which is a Logitech C310. So, oh boy, the color on that one is atrocious, isn't it? Anyway, I spent all my time today trying to do the doggone demo. So, didn't have time to color balance the cameras. So those are the 3 cameras we'll be using and the 3 mics we'll be using. And what I want to do here is I want to set up a screen capture so you guys can see everything I'm doing. The good, the bad, and the ugly. So let's find a screen capture of vMix. I think this is going to be it. We'll change it up to 30 frames a second. I want to show the cursor. Boom. There we go. Oh, hold on. It's not boom yet. Boom. Now it's boom, you can see. Okay. Over here on the left, that's me in the preview window. Over to my right, well, my left, your right, is the program window, is what you're seeing that includes all the inputs below. And let's do this. Let's set up a separate, do we have a color level? Yeah, the yellow color level is absent. So let's move our cameras that we want to move to yellow. So we'll drag that one there. We'll drag that one there. This is live demo. Boy, we're even showing you how to set up this sucker. So we're going to go to the yellow level. We've got 3 cameras. Now we need to add some microphones. Somebody in the chat room says, we're looking forward to the demo of the ACS. Well, this is it. This is as good as it gets. Let's see. Let's do that shot there. That's a little better. So we need to add some inputs. We need to add some microphones. So we're going to add an audio input. Oh, you know what? Let's do one other thing. We're going to go back to our screen cap and let's sharpen it so that you can see any text better. There we go. Okay, so we're going to add input. We're going to add an audio input, and we're going to select, trust me on this one, the Mix 2 ASIO VAD Pro driver. And that's going to be, I think that's this microphone.
Check. 1, 2, 3.
Yep, there it is. Okay. And I think we're going to cut its audio off to you guys. And you notice that it's still showing audio on the input right there, but it's kind of white, which indicates that it's not going through the system. That way we won't pick up any echoes or anything. All right, so we're going to add another audio input. Same thing. It's going to be mix 3. Say OK. And we'll turn it off. And mix 3, I think, is the Audio Technica. Yeah, there we go. It's the Audio Technica. And let's do one more. Live is so much more fun than taped, isn't it? All right, audio input, mix 4, and that should be the natty.
Check.
Whoops, sorry, we'll turn that one off. All right, so we've got 3 mics. We got the natty, or natty. We got the Audio Technica, and we got the Sony. And we have 3 cameras. So what we want to do is we want to get vMix to switch these cameras based on the microphone. So we need to bring in the audio control switcher software. I'm just going to, I don't know, I can't drag it. Can I drag it? Does it appear on the screen? Yeah, there it is. Okay, so you guys can see that. We'll just put it here on top of preview for just a moment. And the first thing we want to do is add an input. So if you can see in the bottom left-hand corner here, we're going to add an input. And there's an input. Okay, it's an audio input. You can see the title at the top. It has this volume bar running down the right side, and then it's got this slider on the left side. And then below that it says volume threshold. And as we move the slider, it adjusts the volume threshold. We'll come back to that in just a minute. And then here is the vMix input. We can select which camera in vMix we want. And then down here, it's helpfully titled vMix input. Again, this is where we select the mic. So let's select mic mix 02. All right. And let's enable it. And that should be check. Yep, there we go. We got audio on that one. And we're going to attach that to the over-the-shoulder cam C920. And that is input number 16. So we'll just say 16. And we're not going to enable it yet, because when we do, it's going to start switching. And I want you guys to be able to see what I'm doing before we start switching anything. Let's see. Let's add another input, and that's going to be for mix 03, and it's going to be for input number 17, and then we'll add another input, and that's going to be mix 04, and that's going to be for number 18. Now, and let's drag these down to about 25-ish. Yeah, there we go. And then over here on the right is the overview trigger. And the overview is what happens if there's more than one speaker at the same time. So let's go back over here and let's see if we can find a suitable shot oh, let's just take this shot number 13. We're going to drag this to the yellow level. So we'll say, and let's bring back our audio control switcher software. So we'll say if we have a trigger, it's going to go to number 13. All right. Now we really would have picked an input that would have shown, maybe 3 or 4 different people at the same time, which I had set up beautifully in the demo that I had prepared. But nevertheless, we got this one. Okay, so we've got mic 02 going to the over-the-shoulder camera shot right here. We've got mic 03 going to this shot right here. Mic number 4 going to this camera right here. So all right, so you guys have seen what this looks like. I'm going to drag this out of the way so that I can see what everything looks like. And we're going to turn that on. And I'm going to grab mic number 2 here. Let's see, is mic 2? Yeah, we're going to have to adjust the threshold on that one a little bit. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Okay. So this is the natty, which means this is going to be mic 3, camera 3. And let's try camera 1 again. I'm going to gently pick up that microphone. Check, 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 check. That's camera 1. We're going to adjust the threshold so it's just slightly more. Slightly more. Now we're going to pick up, you can see me pick up this microphone gently. What I don't want to do is produce any extra audio that causes it to switch just because I'm fumbling around with the mic. And I think this is mic number 2. Let's see, input 17. Yeah, this is mic 2. So I wish you could see the outputs in this. Well, you've already seen them. Okay. All right, so the trigger is enabled, and the trigger says if it senses audio on more than one mic. Whoops, hold on, we're going to have to adjust the trigger sensitivity here. So that, oh, there we go. Great. So it will stay on this until one mic becomes dominant, or until, until 2 seconds have elapsed. So currently I've got the software set. Yeah, Rich says he's getting dizzy. Currently I've got the software set. In fact, thank you, Rich. That's a great point. The idea is that you don't want the camera switching back and forth, blah, 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 every time somebody clears their throat or coughs or does something like that. So once it switches to this camera, there is a adjustable delay at this point that's set for 2 seconds. So once we get on this camera, it has to stay on this camera for at least 2 seconds in order to, before it can switch again. So I'm going to bring in another mic, and we'll switch over to that one. And I'll bring the other mic back, and we'll switch over to that one. But if I try to switch back, it won't switch back that quickly because of the 2 second delay. Now, maybe I'm just not fast enough. Let's switch up the delay and make it a little longer here. I'm going to switch it to 4 seconds. So we're on, which one are we on? We're on number 2. No, there we are. Now we're on number 3, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. Now we should be able to crunch over. Oh, check, 4 seconds. How long is 4 seconds? 4 seconds. Minimal delay. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. Check, check. There we go. So you've got a combination. How long is 4 seconds? Exactly. Let's try it. we should be able to switch back to this one immediately because we had at least 4 seconds. 4 seconds now, 1001, 1003, 1004, now it'll switch over. Okay, so you've got some adjustments in terms of the delay between the switching and then the sensitivity to the microphone to make the switch. Each mic can be adjusted for its sensitivity, and then there can be an overall delay so you're not switching back and forth. And then there's also a feature that if there's silence for more than X number of seconds, it will automatically trigger the overview. So I'm going to enable that, and then I'll be quiet, and it should go to the overview within 2 seconds. And that's the overview. So it should, yeah, switching back to me, and then as long as I'm talking, it should stay. Well, we got to adjust the threshold on this one a little bit. There we go. As long as I'm talking the mic's going to stay on me, and this was just a feature that was built into the software. You can use it or not. It's easy to disable, so I'm going to disable it right now. That way, if I pause to scratch my head, it doesn't take up any time. It doesn't switch to another camera. Now, keep in mind, even though I'm holding this mic up to my mouth, this is not the mic you're hearing. The mic you're hearing is my AT897. There's no way for me to give it to you now without having dual audio. At least I wasn't able to figure it out on the spur of the moment, because all this is a spur of the moment live shot of how this works. That's a much better camera anyway. All right, now the questions. Question number 1, can this be used with Skype? Yes, Skype, it produces its own audio. Skype takes over as a speaker, and that can be recognized by the software and used to trigger a Skype guest. Next question. There we go. Oh, this is so much fun to play with. Oh, I got to adjust it down from less than 4 seconds. Let's send it back to 2 seconds. Back to 2 seconds. There we go. Now somebody was going to say, okay, well, Tom, it doesn't switch as soon as it senses sound. Well, my guess is it probably does, but there's going to be some delay there between the time it senses sound and it triggers it over to vMix. But think about it in a real life situation. A camera person might not always be, or a director might not always be able to make the switch either until somebody starts talking. Just because somebody leans forward and opens their mouth doesn't mean they're going to start talking. Let's see, how long is 4 seconds? How many cameras can vMix do this with? A camera is assigned to a microphone, so as many different microphones as you can have available is the number of cameras. So you could have, let's say you've got, I don't know, a Blue Yeti USB mic, and then you've got a Behringer UMC 404 HD, which will take 4 mics, and then you've got a Skype guest or 2 Skype guests coming in. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7. Yeah, Rich is saying in in the chat. Yeah, you could say 1,000. Not that your PC would have the capability of doing 1,000, and I'm sure at some point there would be some ridiculous amount of delay. But in theory, you could do a whole bunch. I see I dropped that mic down on the. Okay, I'm lowering it gently to the deck. There we go. He says 500 cameras and 500 mics, so 1,000 inputs. That's right. Oh, that's right. Yeah, it would have to be 500 cameras. But that's a good question, Tommy. I mean, realistically, you're not going to exceed the software, the audio control mixer software or the vMix software's ability to have what you need. You're not going to be able to exceed that. condensing or gating on the inputs. The in the audio control software, there is nothing done. The software just listens to the audio. It does not modify the audio in any way. It only listens to it. And it can only listen to audio that is a distinct audio device. So if you've got, here I've got a bunch of XLR mics, you can't plug an XLR mic directly into a PC. You're going to have to plug it into a mixer. But if you plug it into a mixer, then the mixer is going to mix it and send it to the PC as a single audio input. So there's no help there. You lose the ability. I mean, here we are, two different mics, two different camera shots. But if the mixer mixes both mics together as one signal, then the software is not going to do any good. So the key is to be able to get to get the mics into Windows as separate audio devices, and that's where let's see if we can't trigger this camera. That's where, yeah, there we go. That's where this Behringer UMC 404 HD comes in. We can plug in, and I wish I had a close-up of it. It has 4 inputs, and it has the option to do either Windows drivers, which means it'll give you, I think, inputs 1 and 2, or if it has a separate ASIO driver, ASIO, that will allow you to bring in 4 ASIO inputs, so you've got 4 separate and distinct inputs in Windows. So let's see. Let's go back to this shot. Hello. So the Behringer has the ability to recognize to produce 4 inputs through ASIO drivers. vMix can recognize all 4 ASIO drivers and pick up the audio as you saw just a few minutes ago in the screen cap. The downside is that it's a Behringer UMC 404 HD. It's on our website on the controller page with the software. The downside is the audio control software switcher, the audio control switcher does not see ASIO drivers. And so there's a utility that we're bundling in with it that will convert the ASIO drivers over to Windows so that the audio control switcher will then be able to listen to the individual devices. So that's why on our website, when you say, okay, here's the webcam version of the software, it's $150, but the XLR version of the software is $400, well, $399. But that's because we're including the Behringer UMC 404. Oh, I just tapped on the Behringer and it switched mics because the mic number 1 was sitting next to it. Because the Behringer UMC 404 HD is a physical device. Now you can buy your own, and we'll sell you the other stuff without it. And then there's the interface, the utility software. Yep, that looks like somebody's posted to it in the chat room. Yep, to an Amazon link. Currently, these things are on back order all over the world. I think Amazon may be the only folks that have them. But that back order is supposed to be cleared up, I think, by the end of March. So they didn't anticipate that this would be as cool as it really turned out being. I think it's pretty cool. So in order to do XLR mics, you're going to have an audio device, an audio interface. Now there are several different brands that are on the market. I think Toscam, TOSCAM, has a line of those. They've even got an 8-mic audio interface. I think it's $400 or $500, but you can get 8 microphones in, each one as a separate audio input. And then there's Focusrite has a a series that have 2 and 4, and I think there's even one that advertises 16 inputs, but not all those are XLRs. Only 4 of those are XLRs, so it's a little misleading. What we've tried to do is we've tried to go through and find the biggest bang for the buck, the most value for the buck in terms of how to be able to do this kind of on a budget. Yeah, somebody's posted a product in the chat room from the same outfit that wrote this software. What we've tried to do is to say, okay, for the typical talk show situation where we're not going to be using webcams, we're not going to be using the audio from webcams, we're not going to be using Blue Yeti's USB mics, we're going to be using XLR mics, and so we need to have individual inputs into Windows for the XLRs. The Behringer UMC 404 HD was the best solution that I could find. If there's another one out there, I'm happy to entertain it. But it's an interesting little package. It will be part of the let me rephrase that. Let me start that sentence again. We're working on a turnkey talk show system that will include all of the, I won't say proprietary, but maybe difficult to configure items put together and working. For example, this part of it, the audio controlled switching. We're also working on a new tech clone of the talk show that'll use WebRTC as its video transfer and allow you to bring in Skype guests, park them in a green room, and bring them in as part of your broadcast whenever you want to. All of that together will be our talk studio system that we're putting together. It's not going to be cheap. It's going to be pretty pricey. Anything more than a, if I have to spend $10 on a hamburger, that's pricey. Actually, if I have to spend more than $5 on a hamburger, that's pricey. But the idea is that we're going to give you the solution. And yeah, you can go out and engineer your own solution, but here's one that's already pre-engineered. There we go. Let's switch back to, we're going to turn this off now because it's got me all confused as to where to look. So we'll turn this off and come back to our regular show. There we go. All right, gotcha. There we go. Now I feel a little bit more comfortable. Let's see, what other questions did we anticipate? Let's see if we have some other questions in the chat room. So 4 mic inputs on the mixer shows up as 4 mic inputs on the PC. Yes, that is correct. Now they don't show up as Windows inputs. They show up as ASIO inputs. That's really the kind of the wild card in this, is that Windows limits you to kind of 2 from the same device. So for example, if you were in a sound studio, you'd know all about ASIO drivers, and you'd have all sorts of equipment that would plug into your PC that would, allow you to record separate tracks, multiple tracks. But it wouldn't be a Windows driver that would do that. It would be an ASIO driver that would do that, and your software would be configured so that it would recognize multiple ASIO drivers. At this time, the audio control switcher for vMix only recognizes Windows audio drivers. So that's why we had to go out and find that utility piece of software to kind of bridge the gap there. Let's see. Doesn't the Behringer mixer have USB to PC, which can distinguish each input? Yeah, only if you use the ASIO drivers. And not every, I've got a Behringer, what is it, the X1204 USB, and it will do USB just fine, but it only brings in, one stereo channel. It does not bring in, it doesn't have the option built into it to bring in each individual input. Now, if I had a Behringer X32 mixer, which is their really cool digital mixer, yes, we could bring in each individual input, but it still wouldn't be a Windows input. It would still be an ASIO input. So that's, again, kind of kind of the missing link there. Let's see what else. Somebody, oh, Jill said in the chat room when we were talking about switching cameras, she could say, you could do like the NASA astronauts do and say, ah, before you say anything. That's right. That's right. I don't think I finished answering Rich's question earlier about condensing or gating on the inputs, because the Behringer has gain. That's the only option on that Behringer UMC 404 HD. That's not the it doesn't offer any other ways to modify audio. The Behringer X1204 USB mixer has got compression, it's got EQ, it's got, you know, pan, tilt, zoom, no, just pan, and gain, but it mixes all the sounds together. The way that I think vMix is uniquely positioned to be the recipient of this audio control switcher is that the vMix audio inputs have built into the input the ability to adjust the gain, to adjust the EQ, to add compression, and to include a gate. So those four features really do make the vMix audio mixer portion strong enough so that you don't have to have gate or compression or something like that built into, and I'm tapping the Behringer here, built into the Behringer, and certainly not built into the audio control switcher, because the audio control switcher, you're not, what's the best way to describe this? The audio control switcher just listens. It doesn't speak. So it's not passing the audio through. The audio doesn't go through the switcher somewhere else. The audio goes to the switcher and stops, and the switcher says, okay, now I'm going to activate a camera. So it's just listening. And so it's not compressing or doing anything to it. Let's see. Where is this vMix audio software on the vMix website? It is not on the vMix website. It is on our website at easternshorebroadcasting.com under controllers. So you adjust the sound on the Behringer and not on the software then. Yes, the gain you would adjust in the Behringer, and again, all the modifications to the audio can be done in vMix in the audio mixer. And let's differentiate a vMix input audio in the audio mixer from this audio control switcher, which is a special piece of software that works outside of vMix, but it uses the vMix API to control the cameras based on what it hears. Martin says vMix has compression, etc. Correct. Chris says the audio control switcher is just a trigger. That's a great way to describe it, Chris. It's just a trigger. It doesn't modify the audio in any way. Let's see. Let me review my notes and make sure that we didn't forget anything. Yeah, I think we pretty well covered it. Of course, I'm going to have another go at doing a more professional overview and demonstration of this software besides that quick and dirty one we did earlier. But I think it was enough for you to kind of get the feel of it and understand why I'm so excited about it. Because I think for folks that are in the talk show business, this is going to be great. For people that, you know, for example, if maybe you're coming out of podcasting, audio podcasting, if you got a beautiful audio setup like Justin, been working with Justin for a little while, and now there's this added burden of switching cameras, which can really, I mean, as somebody that controls all this behind the scenes, I can tell you it really does take, you know, if you've only got 10% brain function to begin with, and you lose 5% of it to switching cameras, you've only got 5% left. But it really does take a mental load to stay on top of all of this. So, yeah, and Justin, if you, I see you're in the chat, but if you're really active and listening, please put a link to your talk show in there. But if you're doing that kind of talk show and you're the host, then you would want to be able to, when it's appropriate, kind of turn this over and automate it and let your guests go at it. And of course, you can be interviewing them, and the mic's going to switch to you, and then they're going to respond to an answer. And then if you've got multiple guests and you want to do a panel format where you've got guest number one, host, and then guest number two, kind of like CNN and Fox News, that's kind of the level that I'm thinking about. Some nice, good-looking format like that. That's the idea, that it would make a talk show a lot easier to produce. And I'm sure there are other places that it would come in handy too. Chris said for visual radio, it's cool. Yep, that's the idea. Rich says, do you know a YouTube video that uses the audio switcher? There's only one out there that I know of, and it's by the developer of this software. I don't have a link to it now, but I think if you did a vMix, a YouTube search for audio-controlled switcher, you might just get it. Well, I can see the natives are getting restless. People are already asking about refreshments, so it's time to wrap up the show and go into post-show when we can enjoy the refreshments. So if you're watching us on YouTube, sorry, this is not our normal show. We went way long and way off the cuff. But heck, maybe that's what you're looking for. If it is, then we're your folks. I'm Tom Sinclair. This has been Streamin Idiots. And, come back and visit us on a regular show. We're live Wednesdays at 3 o'clock Eastern. We'll be live from NAB on the Wednesday of NAB at 3 o'clock Eastern, noon Las Vegas time. And heck, we might have real refreshments there. Wouldn't that be fun? We could have virtual refreshments are cool too, but real refreshments. Anyway, YouTube, subscribe to us, please. And those of you watching, come back again next week. Because this week just really was terrible. Anyway, talk to you soon. Take care.